Hey guys, JD here from Power Up Gaming, and I have two very special guests with me this morning from Glass Knuckle Games. I have Owen Watson, who is the master of art and animation. How you doing, Owen?
Hi, thank you for
And
the title.
yes, of course. And I have the co-founder and developer of Glass Knuckle Games, Brett Davis. How are you
Hey
doing?
guys, I'm doing pretty good.
Fantastic.
Sorry, I want to interrupt. He's doing pretty well.
Uh, it's-
He's doing well, I see. um, so today I wanted to talk a little bit about Thief Town, and especially the PS4 edition of Thief Town. Have you guys, has Glass Knuckle had any major console releases before Thief Town?
no, this is our first one.
How does that feel?
It was very exciting. Yeah, console makers have like recently gotten a lot easier to make like developer accounts with and get dev kits set up and go through the publishing process with. So it surprisingly wasn't that bad. It was a lot more difficult than publishing on Steam, but it was very exciting thing to do. It made the game feel kind of real.
Right.
Finally saw it on the PSN store when it launched.
So is that kind of like the dream for a developer, is to have a console release?
I think for a lot of people it is. I never thought that I would have one for a long time, but yeah, I mean, it was very awesome to launch there.
Cool. So can you, the two of you, can you just sort of walk me through how Thief Town came to be? Because it's a pretty original and cool idea, and I want to know, like, was it inspired by anything, and what are the steps that you took to have it become the game that it is?
So it started off as like a school project like a long time ago. That was basically it was based on taking the game Spy Party,
Okay.
which is a I don't think the game's actually out yet, but basically it's this conceptual game where like one player plays as this sniper and they're trying to find a spy in the middle of like a crowded fancy party, and then another player is performing these like strange spy-like actions in the middle of this crowded room full of NPCs, and they want to try to blend in and like, I don't know, hide something in a book, or you know, replace a flower with something. Just like a bunch of like small spy actions. I don't know. I haven't played the game for a while, but basically the idea was to take that and make it more minimalist and local multiplayer.
Okay.
So I figured, like, what if all the players are both spies and snipers in that case? So in Thief Town, you know, everyone is both trying to blend in and stab each other. And I found that it made for a pretty interesting and unique experience. And the game actually started as like an online only kind of game, but I realized pretty quickly that with the amount of feedback you get in that game, like it's a lot more fun when everyone's in the same room.
Right.
So eventually I kind of switched it to be more local multiplayer focused, and yeah, and then brought Owen in on it. And
Yeah, so originally when Brett was doing this for the class, correct?
yeah,
Our mutual friend Kyle Fleischer made these assets for him real quick so he could finish the project. And then when Brett wanted to kind of make it something bigger, he came to me and said, "Owen, you master of art and animation, please, I beg you, let's make this a real game." And I said, "I'll think about it." and yeah, that's how the art.
yeah. Actually, for a while, the art for that game was just assets from another game that I made. Like, there's this game on our site called Dumble, which was originally called Dumbledore 64, but Apple made us change the name. It's just this silly game where you're a wizard and you it's like an arcade style dual stick shooter kind of thing. And I just took a bunch of sprites from that and made Thief Town out of that for a while. So eventually I was like, kind of need to put real art in this.
Dumbletown isn't really working like it should, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting. So it started from a different game, an older game, and then kind of developed into Thief Town. Why with the Old West theme?
I'm not entirely sure where that came from. So the original, like when I stole all the art from my other game and made Thief Town out of that, I put everyone in a desert because it was easy to see them on like a brighter background, and that was the only bright background that game had. And when I started like getting assets for it, everyone was just like, "Oh yeah, this is supposed to be a game in the desert," and everyone's Wild West cowboys. I don't know. People just kind of interpreted that aesthetic as Wild West.
If it's in the desert, then obviously, right?
Yeah.
The funny thing is, the best feedback we've gotten is there are no thieves and there isn't a town.
It's true. There's no stealing and there's no town, so it's not actually what the game is at all. It was just very like it was kind of a random choice that people just stuck with, and I was a big fan of it, so I was like, yeah, man, Wild West, let's do it. I feel like there aren't a lot of like indie Wild West titles.
Well, now there are. When we started the town,
yeah.
We started the trend.
Started the craze. You guys are responsible for it.
Yep. Just us. No one else.
So you mentioned earlier that it started as an online multiplayer thing, and on the PC edition, it supports like a LAN party. You can also play with a mobile extension, right?
Yeah.
But in the PS4, it's strictly local multiplayer.
Yes.
And that's one thing that I love, because it reminded me of, playing, GoldenEye on the N64, where you can actually just go and physically beat the person who virtually beat you. And
yeah.
I love that, because I feel like there's, just an energy that comes from that local multiplayer aspect.
Yeah.
So my question is, in regards to that, do you see yourself creating any future updates that would allow for online multiplayer, or are you planning to just stick with local?
Probably just gonna stick with local.
Mm-hmm.
The LAN play on the PC version is kind of a side effect of it originally being online only.
Okay.
And I think the phone app works pretty well as like a controller extension. Like, I don't see much value in extending that to like fully online play without totally tweaking the game, because like you don't get a whole lot of feedback if you're just playing, but like there needs to be some sort of communication or feedback as to like which player is which and stuff like that.
Yeah, the game is already confusing, and adding the online element is just even more confusing, and it's not really fun.
It's. I mean, right now it's confusing in a very like fun way, because you're like, oh man, like a ton of people over there just randomly died. Who did that? But if you're online, like, and you're not talking to the people that you're playing at the time, it's just kind of like, oh,
right.
I don't know what just happened.
And it's good. It's good to yell at someone and get your frustrations out as well. But
yeah,
no, it's funny that you mentioned it's confusing, because at least when I play, like, I've noticed if I don't find myself within the first, 2-3 seconds, then I assume that match is just over for me. If I can't find myself right away, I just figure, well, I'm not going to find myself. That's pretty much it.
I mean, I've played the game so many times that like I immediately know who I am, so I don't run into that problem. But I feel like that's very common, because there are a lot of people you play with that just stab from the get-go.
Right.
So like if you don't find yourself immediately, you probably just ran into a knife, and then you see yourself die, and you're like, oh.
Now, when you play, since you've created, developed the game, and played it so much, have you found that you almost have like a sixth sense of knowing where you are on the screen before you even move?
Yeah, I would say there's a bit of that. I think more of what I have a sixth sense of is knowing where the players are.
Okay.
Because I know exactly how the AI functions.
Okay.
And if someone like varies very slightly from that, like 9 times out of 10 it's a person.
Right.
And then I just stab them.
In contrast, I don't know where anybody is, and I'm terrible at the game.
So, Owen, are you one of the guys who runs around stabbing or plays dead in the corner?
Usually I found a strategy that worked for me when we demo it in front of large people and I have to play it for hours on end. But it's like I go and try and stab, and then I go back into a crowd and like move around, and usually you're in the clear if that happens.
Mm.
So you go for the Assassin's Creed blending.
Yeah, and it's cool because it even works like at the end of a round if there's just one NPC left, you can still kind of fake someone out by running to that NPC and kind of like moving independently of it.
Play the cups game with the...
Yeah.
Okay. Another thing I love about the game, even though it's so simple, there are so many small little details that enhance the game. You know, whether it's little things like, oh, I'm going to turn off the music, so I will stab the piano player. Or maybe I want to play this match like I'm playing it on a Game Boy. You know, or even another thing that I love is how the PS4 controller, the light bar, lights up the color of your character.
Oh, yeah.
That's something... and I have to say, when I first turned on the game, I just about shat myself when the controller started laughing at me. I never expect that. I just freaked right out, and almost every time it just starts laughing.
Yeah, that was one of the key things that when I was making the PS4 version, I was like, we have to use the controllers
right
for everything that they support.
So, with all these small details, was that a conscious decision from the beginning? Like, you want to have little small things here and there, or did they just kind of pop up as you were creating the game?
I think definitely like the piano player stuff and the main menu in general being a saloon was something that kind of popped up over time. Like, I didn't really want to have a lot of menus in the game because I feel like there's not a whole lot that you would need to use a menu for in a game like this, and they're just kind of boring. So my thought was like, well, what if everyone's just in a lobby and all the options are killing people or stabbing them and they come back up?
Right.
And I think the piano player was the first one that we put in.
Yeah, the piano player is really fun because you stab him and he's dead, and then you stab him again and he just pops back up to life
Playing the piano, yeah.
It was, I thought it was hilarious, and I'm like, because, you know, I'm running around, I stabbed some other people first, you know, like I looked at the credits, and I was like, oh, what happens if you stab the piano player? He just falls dead on the floor. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, I think that's great.
The last thing is for Owen. So
Hi.
with how you doing? With you know, this Western theme that had been created, did you go, you know, off of the other artwork like from Dumble and other games, or was this something that you created new for Thief Town?
So I did, you know, rely on a lot of the assets that had already been there, but at the same time, I kind of wanted to make it my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I achieved that pretty well. I'm most proud of the score screen with the wanted posters.
Okay.
After I kind of made that, I was like, okay, yeah, this is my own as well as, you know, a lot of the original.
Right. And I mean, even the details in the art, you know, like even though they are 8-bit characters, you know, they don't just, you know, glide along the screen. You know, as they walk, their shoulders shrug up and down. And yeah, it's little things like that as I was playing, I was like, this impressed me. You know, just the way that the characters move and that the art looks.
Well, it's funny. I had never done pixel art before this, so I kind of had to learn along the way, which was I don't think I'd ever go back to pixel art after this, but it was a learning experience for sure.
Aside from Thief Town, Glass Knuckle Games does have a couple things coming up in the future, correct?
Yes.
What do you have coming up that you are excited about?
So our other co-founder Dave is working on a game called Defragmented, which is a cyberpunk like top-down shooter, kind of like Hotline Miami style.
Okay.
But with more RPG mechanics. And so I think he wants to release that early next year, but I don't think he gave a definite date yet or anything.
But no, yeah, it'll be released sometime. Yeah,
it's coming. It's
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not the best one to pitch that game, but
Yeah.
it's a fun game. Yeah, and then we are working on another project that's not really at the point where we can announce anything yet, but
Okay.
it will be a totally different like art style, and it's going to be more single player focused.
So watch out for this unnamed title.
Yeah.
How'd you guess the name of the game?
Awesome. And is there an estimated release window for that, or is it still all hush hush?
I would say hush hush. I mean, we don't really know how long it would take to make it so
Right.
far. Like, we're still kind of getting like a pitch demo together.
Before we wrap up, is there anything that you want to tell our audience or the players of Thief Town or any of your other titles as well?
Yeah, I mean, thanks for playing. I'm really glad that people like this game and that we made something that is enjoyed.
Yeah, it's weird. I've had to play it for hours on end at like shows, so like I can't see anything good about the game anymore. So it's really exciting to see people actually enjoy it because all the joy has been such a waste to me.
I feel like that's definitely a common thing with like people who have to demo their own game for long periods of time.
Mm-hmm.
They just like totally turn into Owen.
just this game is just yeah. Well,
Yeah,
it's
become masters of art. And
that's yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm real proud of where the game went and how it got onto the PlayStation and all that. So,
Well, awesome. I mean, first console release. I love it. It reminds me of if you take like the best mini game from Mario Party and just play it over and over until you hate everyone else in the room. That's what Thief Town is to me. So
yeah, I mean, you only really want to play bumper balls.
yeah, exactly right.
You want the rest of the game.
Yeah.
what's bumper balls?
Never mind. Don't. He's ignorant. Don't mind him.
Anyone watching and listening who hasn't played Thief Town, initially in my review, I described it as like the most fun that you can have for under $10 because it is non-expensive and it, assuming you actually have real life friends to play with, it can give you tons of fun. Thank you guys for meeting up with me and answering my burning questions about Thief Town.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.